Good evening, humans. Tonight, I have an urban legend based on true events. Here is the story. In the hills above Ojai, California, the woods smell of smoke even when nothing is burning. Locals say the wind itself remembers that it carries the breath of something still walking among the ashes. They call him the Char-Man. The story begins in 1948 when a wildfire tore through the valley, a storm of orange eating homes, trees, and whole families. After it passed, all that remained was a handful of chimneys and the sound of timber cracking under its own memory. That's where Eddie Colson lived with his father, a small cabin on the edge of the ridge, too far for firefighters to reach. When the flames came down the hill, Eddie and his father tried to run. They didn't make it. The neighbor swore he heard one of them screaming long after the blaze should have smothered them. By the time rescuers arrived, they found one burned body by the porch and the other missing. Everyone assumed the missing man had been completely consumed by the fire. Everyone except the people who still heard footsteps out there at night. The first to see him was a highway patrolman in 1949. He stopped near the bridge outside town after midnight when his car radio went dead. No static, no sound, just silence, thick enough to hear his own pulse. Something moved in the tree line. He aimed his flashlight. A figure stood there, skin blistered, black, wrapped in bandages that looked welded to the flesh beneath. The smell hit him first, burnt hair and cooked meat. The figure tilted its head, took a step forward, and screamed. Not like a person, more like a throat full of smoke trying to remember how to breathe. The officer ran, left the car door open, and never came back to that stretch of road again. By the 1960s, the Char-Man had become a legend teenagers told to scare each other. They'd drive out to Camp Comfort Road, park near the burned bridge, and shout his name 3 times into the woods. If you were brave or stupid, you'd cross the bridge alone. A dare went like this: walk to the middle of the bridge, call for help, and wait. If you hear footsteps behind you, don't turn around, because he'll think you're someone from the fire, and he'll take your skin to replace his own. One night in 1971, 4 kids from Ventura tried it. Only 3 came back. The survivor never spoke again, but his shoes were found filled with blood and soot, as if they had been sitting too close to a fire that never went out. Half a century later, the town still keeps its distance from that bridge. The fires come often in California, and every time the smoke rises, people start seeing him again. A woman named Rosa Martinez, living on the outskirts of Ojai, said she woke one night to the smell of something burning inside her house. She searched the kitchen, nothing. Then she saw the reflection in her window. A man's face, blackened, peely, one eye white, one eye red, staring back from the glass. The window wasn't a mirror. It looked in from the outside. She screamed, dropped the phone, and ran for her child's room. By the time the police arrived, the glass was warped, as if someone had pressed molten hands against it. They told her it was vandalism, but the fingerprints left behind were fused into the paint. In 2013, a group of hikers from Los Angeles filmed something they shouldn't have. Their video was found on a burned phone near the Ojai riverbed. The last 60 seconds show a figure standing at the edge of their campfire, skin glistening like tar. One of them says, "Is that a person?" Then the camera jerks. You hear the fire roar louder, unnatural, as if oxygen was being sucked out of the air. A voice, warped, hollow, says, "Help me, it hurts." The screen flashes orange, then black. The next morning, search crews found the camp half melted into the soil, tents fused with stone, metal warped, no bodies recovered. Locals say the Char-Man was Eddie Colson, that he watched his father burn alive and went mad with pain. He ran into the woods screaming until his skin fell off in strips. When rescuers found him, he attacked them, his flesh still smoking. They fled and left him there to die, but he didn't. He lived in the shadows for decades, wrapping himself in the burned skins of deer, dogs, anything he could catch. When that wasn't enough, he found new hides. They say he waits near fires, any fire, drawn to the heat like memory. That if you burn a campfire near Ojai and the smoke starts to smell sweet, it's already too late, because that's not wood you're smelling, that's him. A few years ago, a journalist named Daniel Reyes went looking for proof, microphone, camera, all that. He recorded his own disappearance. The audio begins with crickets, footsteps, and his voice. Heading toward Camp Comfort Ridge, midnight, fog heavy, temperature dropping fast, then static, then breathing. Smells like smoke. Is there a burn nearby? There's a crunch of gravel, a crackle like fire, and a soft voice. Hoarse, trembling, close to the mic. "Help me." Daniel whispers, "Sir, are you hurt?" Something moves, fast. You hear a scream, then roaring, like the mic itself is on fire. The last thing recorded is a whisper through melted static. "It's your turn." When rescuers found the recorder, it was fused to the asphalt. Daniel was gone. His car keys were still in the ignition, metal twisted like wax. Every wildfire season, when the hills light up, reports come in. Drivers seeing a blackened man limping through the smoke. Firefighters hearing someone screaming from inside the flames. But when they rush in, there's no one there, and a smell, the same sweet, burnt meat scent, even when the blaze is miles away. Sometimes just before a new fire breaks out, locals swear they see a single figure standing at the tree line, watching the wind. And if you listen carefully over the sirens and helicopters, you can hear him laughing, a dry, cracked sound, like a fire remembering how to breathe. Last summer, the Ojai fire tore through the same canyon Eddie once called home. When the flames were finally contained, the rescue team found a section of forest untouched. 1 acre, perfectly circled, all trees blackened but standing. At the center of that ring, a single human footprint burned into the soil. Inside it lay something small, a melted radio microphone. When investigators played back what little survived, they heard a voice whisper, "It still hurts." Then faintly it sounds like someone peeling skin from flesh. The recording cut out there. People in Ojai don't talk about him anymore. They let the tourists tell the story, because that's safer. As long as you don't believe too hard, he stays where he is. But every year, someone new comes to film, to prove, to taunt the legend. And every year, another wildfire starts with no lightning, no spark, just a sudden column of smoke from the same ridge as 1948. They say the Char-Man doesn't die, he spreads. He rides the wind and sparks and ash. He follows the smell of fear. And when the heat hits your window late at night, and the glass ripples like it's trying to melt inward, don't look, because if you see him, He sees you, and once he does, the next thing you'll smell is your own skin burning. Did you find that scary? If you did, like and subscribe. Have a scary night and spooky nightmares.